Why do 92% of New Year's resolution fail by February? It's not lack of motivation, it's flawed planning system that don't work in our modern lives. The planning method I'm about to share has helped thousands of busy professionals finally break this cycle. And it takes less than 30 minutes each week, and it will transform how you approach your goals. So stay with me and I'll walk you through a practical system that matches how you can actually work and live in the year. And you learn to schedule around your energy, not just your time, and end each week feeling and fulfilled. So let's get started. This is what happens with most calendars. You start the week with good intentions. You fill every slot with tasks, meetings, and appointments. You believe this makes you feel productive and it creates a feeling of momentum. But research tells a different story. This back-to-back scheduling actually reduces what you accomplish by a significant amount. And that full calendar becomes a source of constant pressure. It stops being a tool and starts being a problem. So think about what this does to your brain. Every time you switch from a meeting to a task, to an email, you lose focus. And this context switching drains your mental energy. And by Wednesday afternoon, you already feel scattered and your ability to concentrate weakens. And you end up ending the weekend exhausted than you should. You check off many small items, but feel like you achieved nothing meaningful. So that gap between being busy and being productive creates frustration and it makes you want to stop planning altogether. So the solution isn't willpower. It only requires changing how you see your calendar. And you need to stop seeing it as a container for every demand. Start seeing it as a protected space for your real work. Your calendar should serve your priority and not other people's interests. It is a framework for your focused attention, not just a list of obligations. And this shift in thinking changes everything. And the moment you start defending your calendar like a valuable territory, your work changes instead of reacting to interruptions, and you control your time instead of your time controlling you. This approach transforms your planning from to a strategic advantage. It turns frustration into forward motion, and the calendar becomes your ally in making real progress each week. Now we need to talk about what actually deserves a spot on our calendar, on that protected calendar. Not everything belongs there. So the next step is learning to filter out the noise and schedule only what moves you forward. Traditional planning fails because it doesn't account for how our energy works throughout the week. You have different types of tasks. Some need deep concentration, some are just admin, and some are about rest and recovery. Most systems treat all time as equal, but science confirms that is not how our brains and bodies operate. Your week contains three distinct energy buckets, and each one requires separate treatment. The first is deep work tasks that demands high cognitive energy and sustained focus. The second is administrative tasks, the medium energy tasks like an email, scheduling, or organizing. Then the third is recovery, downtime that's essential for maintaining your energy across the week. And mixing these three buckets are where things go wrong. If you try to do deep work right after answering emails or right before a meeting, but really burning out faster. Each bucket has its own placement rules. Deep work belongs in your peak energy windows, and the admin work fits into your lower energy part of your day. Recovery isn't optional. It's what lets you sustain effort without crashing. And when you mix them, you end up with a schedule that looks full but doesn't actually support your goals. Successful weekly planning means intentionally separating these three energy types. You design your week around your natural rhythms, not against them. So this isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters without draining yourself. So think of it like this. You wouldn't use a race car to haul groceries or a pickup truck to win a Grand Prix. Each vehicle has a purpose. Your energy works the same way. Some tasks need your full power, others just need steady, reliable effort. And sometimes you need to park and refill. Research supports this approach. Blending high tasks with low energy admin leads to mental fatigue and reduces overall output. It also makes your week feel chaotic, even when it looks organized on paper. The goal is to stop treating your time as one continuous block. Break it into these three buckets and give each the space it needs. You not only get more done, you finish the week with energy left instead of running on empty. So now let's break down each bucket specifically. We start with deep work slots and how to place them where they will deliver the most value. Your high value tasks deserve the best real estate in your week. These are the things that actually move you forward. Projects, creative work, strategic thinking, anything that requires serious mental effort. First, identify your 2 or 3 most demanding tasks for the week. What are the things that will make the biggest difference if you got them done? Most people make the mistake of scheduling this last. They fill their calendar with meetings and admin tasks, then try to squeeze deep work into leftover time when their energy is already drained. Research shows that morning hours gives you significant better focus. For complex work, your brain is fresh, distractions haven't built up, and you can engage with difficult materials more effectively. Trying to do deep work late in the day is like trying to run a marathon after you've walked 10 miles. So block out 90 to 120 minutes slot for this deep work. These are non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Treat them like important meetings like you wouldn't cancel, and put them in your calendar with a clear label so you know what you're working on during that time. Set strict no interruption rules for these blocks. Turn off notifications, close your email, and if you work in an office, consider using a signal to show you are in focus mode. This protected time allows you to get into flow state where real progress happens. So schedule these deep work slots during your personal energy peaks. If you're a morning person, put them early, and if you hit your stride later, adjust accordingly. Your chronotype at this point. Work with your natural rhythms rather than against them. Everything else in your week needs to work around these deep work blocks. Your meetings, calls, administrative tasks, they all get scheduled after you've put your prime thinking time. And this simple shift changes everything about how productive you feel by Friday. When you put deep work first, you ensure that your best energy goes towards your most important work. You stop sacrificing what matters most to what matters least. You end the week knowing that you move forward on things that actually count. Blocking deep work first creates a foundation for your entire week. It becomes the anchor that everything else revolves around. You're designing your schedule around your priorities rather than fitting your priorities into leftover spaces. So now let's talk about the second energy bucket. Emails, quick calls, administrative duties create massive distractions when they are scattered throughout your day. Every time you stop what you're doing to check an email or handle a minor task, you break your concentration. You might think it only takes a minute, but the real cause is the mental shift required to get back into deep work mode. So group similar low energy tasks into dedicated time blocks instead of letting them interrupt your day randomly. So this means scheduling specific times for checking emails, making phone calls, and handling administrative works. I know that for some of you, this might be the opposite. Research shows that constant task switching can waste a significant portion of your productive time because your brain needs to reorientate itself each time you change activities. So schedule these low energy administrative tasks during your lower energy periods, like the post-lunch hours when focus naturally dips. That's when your mind is better suited for routine tasks rather than demanding creative work. Use clear time limits for each batch, maybe 30 minutes for emails, 20 minutes for follow-up calls. This prevents administrative tasks from expanding time and creeping into your valuable deep work periods. Batch processing dramatically reduces context switching. So instead of checking emails 10 times throughout the day, you do it once or twice in focus sections. This improves your efficiency because you maintain a consistent mental mood for each type of work. You're not constantly shifting gears between different kinds of thinking, and this approach creates clear boundaries between your different types of work. You're either in deep work mode, administrative mode, or recovery mode, not trying to do all three at once. These boundaries protect your cognitive energy and prevent the mental fatigue that comes from constant switching. Administrative batching directly protects your deep work time from distractions. When you know you have a specific time schedule for handling messages and administrative tasks, You can fully focus during your deep work periods without worrying about missing something important. You train yourself to resist the impulse to check notifications because you know there is a scheduled time for that later. This system also reduces decision fatigue. You don't have to constantly decide whether to respond to each email as it arrives. You simply follow your schedule, handling administrative tasks during your scheduled batches and protecting your focus during deep work periods. And the result is a week that feels more controlled and less reactive. You're managing your tasks instead of letting them manage you. Administrative batching turns what used to be constant interruptions into organized, efficient sections that support rather than sabotage your most important work. So now let's address the one that most people sacrifice first, but actually makes everything possible. Most people think that productivity is only about how much work you can pack into a day. That's only half of the story. Real productivity is about sustainable performance over weeks, months, and years. And to achieve that, you need to treat recovery with the same importance as your meetings. Schedule recovery time as you would any other critical appointment. Put it in your calendar with a clear label. Lunch break, work outside, time with family, even just quiet time to disconnect. The majority of professionals skip this break entirely, believing they don't have time. But skipping recovery doesn't give you more time. It just starts a cycle of burnout that makes every following day less effective. Your recovery are your intentional breaks from meals without screens, physical movement, social connection, and complete mental disconnection from work. It's not wasted time, it's strategic refueling, and this block prevents decision fatigue and help maintain your cognitive resources throughout the week. You're not just resting, you're rebuilding your capacity to focus, and the key is to schedule recovery before exhaustion, not after. Most people wait until they are drained to take a break. By then, it's too late. The damage to your mood and focus is already done. So instead, plan recovery proactively. Put a lunch break on your calendar before you're starving. Schedule a walk before you feel restless. Block time to disconnect before your attention scatters. Quality recovery directly improves your next day focus and creativity. A proper break makes your work time more effective, not less. When you return from real recovery, you bring better energy, clear thinking, and more patience to your tasks. You solve problems faster and make fewer mistakes because your brain actually had time to recharge. So treat this recovery appointment as non-negotiable. If someone asks for a meeting during your scheduled work or lunch, an alternative time, just like you would for any other important commitment. Your recovery time is not available for rescheduling. This mindset shift changes how you value your own well-being within your work structure. Plan recovery makes your intense work periods more sustainable. You can push harder during deep work periods when you know recovery is coming. You can maintain focus longer when you have breaks scheduled to look forward to. This rhythm of effort and recovery creates a sustainable pattern that prevents the Friday exhaustion so many people experience. Your calendar should reflect your whole life, not just your work output. Including recovery blocks ensures you're planning for a successful week in the truest sense, one where you accomplish meaningful work without sacrificing your health or sanity. And this balanced approach is what separates professionals who thrive from those who just survive. So now let's connect these three buckets to your bigger goals. So here is where most weekly plans fall apart. You can have the perfect schedule blocked out with deep work, administrative batches, and recovery time. But if it doesn't connect to your bigger objectives, it will still feel meaningless. Each week should move you intentionally toward your quarterly or annual goals. This connection transforms your plan from a list of tasks into a map of progress. Most weekly plan feels completely disconnected from long-term aspiration. You check things off your list, but don't feel closer to what actually matters to you. And this creates that hollow feeling of being busy without being productive. You're doing the work, but it's not the work that moves you forward. It's just activity filling time rather than purpose directing action. So start each week by asking one simple question. What three things will make this week successful if I accomplish them? Not 20 things, not everything on your to-do list, just three meaningful outcomes. This should be directly tied to your larger goal or results that actually matter in the bigger picture of your life and work. So now look at your deep work slots. This protected time should be dedicated primarily on working on those three priorities. If your most important work isn't happening during your best energy hours, you're wasting your peak potential on tasks that don't move the needle. Your deep work blocks become the engine that drives your weekly progress forward. This alignment creates a genuine sense of accomplishment rather than just checking boxes. At the end of the week, you can look back and see tangible progress towards what matters. You're saying you move specific, important projects forward. That feeling of momentum is what keeps you motivated week after week. Weekly alignments also prevent you from drifting into reactive mode. When you know exactly what three things matters the most, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and interruptions. Someone asks you to take on an extra task, and you can quickly assess whether it supports your weekly priorities. If it doesn't, you have clear grounds to decline or defer it. This process transforms your plan from busy work to purposeful action. Every task gets evaluated against whether it serves your key priorities. Administrative work gets batched and contained. Recovery time gets protected to maintain your energy for what matters. Your entire week becomes intentionally structured around meaningful progress rather than accidental activity. The weekly alignment check takes only a few minutes but changes everything about how your week feels. It ensures your effort actually moves you toward what matters instead of just filling time with tasks. So you end each week with clarity about what you achieved rather than confusion about where the time went. So now let's talk about scheduling realistic capacity, because even the best aligned plan fails if it's overcrowded. Over planning is the number one reason weekly plans fail. And most people make these mistakes because they try to schedule every minute of their week, leaving no room for reality to happen. They create these perfect looking schedules where every hour is accounted for, then feel like failures when the first interruption comes along. That rigid approach sets you up for disappointment week after week. Leave 30% of your time completely unscheduled. That empty space isn't wasted time. A strategic buffer for the unexpected. Research clearly shows that unplanned events consume a significant portion of our weekly time. Interruptions happen, emergencies pop up, projects takes longer than expected, and if your schedule has no flexibility, these normal occurrences derail your entire week. That 30% buffer allows for creativity, spontaneity, and problem solving. When you have open time in your schedule, you can handle surprises without stress. Someone needs help with an urgent project, you have time. Meeting runs long, it doesn't ruin your day. You discover a better approach to a task, you can pivot without throwing everything off course. So this empty space reduces stress significantly. When things don't go exactly as planned, which they never do, you don't feel that panic of falling behind. Your plan becomes resilient rather than fragile. It can absorb shock without breaking. You accommodate real life without derailing your progress. That flexibility makes planning sustainable long term. The 70% rule creates a plan that adapts to reality instead of fighting it. You're not trying to control every minute. You're creating a framework that can handle the unpredictability of actual work, and this approach acknowledges that perfect execution is impossible, but consistent progress is absolutely achievable. Think of your schedule like a highway system. If every lane is always full with no room to emerge or change lanes, the smallest accident creates a massive traffic jam. But when there is some space between vehicles, the system can absorb disruptions and keep moving. Your weekly plan works the same way. Buffer time also allows those moments for insight and creativity that often get squeezed out by overpacked schedules. Some Some of your best ideas will come during those open spaces, not when you're rushing from one schedule to the next. This space itself become productive in ways you can't schedule in advance. The 70% rule might feel uncomfortable at first if you're used to packing your calendar. You might worry you're not being ambitious enough, but this isn't about doing less. It's about accomplishing more by creating a plan that actually works in the real world. A plan you can stick with week after week. Your ideal week is one where you make meaningful progress while handling whatever comes your way without stress. The 70% rule makes that possible. So now let's address digital tools versus analog method to see which approach best support this flexible planning system. The best planning system is the one you actually use consistently, not the one that looks perfect on paper. Both digital and analog methods offer distinct advantages, and your choice should reflect what works with your lifestyle rather than chasing some ideal solution. Digital tools provide practical benefits that make planning easier for many people. They offer automatic reminders that keeps you on track without manual effort. They sync across all your devices, so your schedule is always accessible whether you're at your desk or your phone. The idea to easily drag and drop appointments and make quick adjustments saves time compared to rewriting an entire paper schedule. So for those who live on their devices and need frequent updates, digital tools fit naturally into their workflow. Analog methods offer different but equally valuable advantages. Writing by hand provides tactical satisfaction that many people find more engaging than typing. And using a physical planner reduces digital distraction because you're not tempted to check notifications or browse the internet when you're working with pen and paper. And research shows that handwriting engages memory centers in your brain more effectively than typing, which means you're more likely to remember what you write down. The real tension comes from constantly switching between different tools. Two hopping wastes more time than the planning itself saves. So every time you change systems, you lose momentum and have to learn new workflows. You spend more time setting up the perfect system than actually using it to plan your week effectively. This search for the perfect tool becomes another form of procrastination. So the key is consistency rather than perfection. Choose one method that aligns with your cognitive preferences and stick with it. If you prefer digital organization and live on your devices, a digital calendar might work best. If you think better with pen and paper and want to reduce screen time, analog system can be your solution. Your choice should work how you naturally work and think. So commit to one method for at least 8 weeks before evaluating whether it works. This gives you time to learn the system and develop the habit of using it constantly. You'll discover what actually helps you plan better rather than what feels novel or interesting initially. The system itself matters less than developing the consistency of using it week after week. Your planning tool should serve you, not the other way around. It should make the process easier and not more complicated. Avoid any complication. The right choice feels natural to use and doesn't create additional overhead in your week. It becomes an extension of how you already think about your time and priorities. So let's discuss the weekly review ritual that makes any planning system effective. Consistency turns planning from something you have to remember into something you just do. So the Sunday evening ritual works because it creates automatic habit formation. You stop debating when to plan your week. You just do it at the same time every Sunday evening. This regularity builds momentum that makes your planning stick long term. Schedule your weekly planning at the same time each week. Pick a specific window that works reliable for your Sundays. Maybe it's right after dinner or before you wind down for the night. The exact time matters less than the consistency. When you plan at different times each week, you are more likely to skip it entirely. Inconsistent timing leads to reactive weeks where you are constantly playing catch up instead of moving forward intentionally. So Sunday evening provide perfect closure on the previous week while offering clear start lines into the next one. You've had the weekend to mentally step back from work, but you're not yet in Monday's demand. This timing creates psychological separation between weeks. You can review what worked and what didn't with fresh eyes, then apply those lessons to coming week. It's the ideal moment for reflection and preparation. This ritual take only 20 to 30 minutes once you're familiar with the system. The first few weeks might take longer as you learn the process, but it quickly becomes efficient. Small weekly investment returns hours of saved time during actual week. You spend less time deciding what to do next and more time doing meaningful work. The consistency itself reduces decision fatigue because you're not starting from scratch each time. The planning Sunday session planning from a chore into a strategic advantage. It becomes something you look forward to rather than avoid. And this regular practice builds confidence in your ability in whatever the week brings. You start Monday morning knowing exactly what matters most and when you do it. That clarity reduces Sunday night anxiety about the coming week. So this ritual creates a clear transition between rest and work. It helps you prepare mentally for the week ahead while formally closing out the previous one. And that separation is crucial for maintaining sustainable productivity. You're not carrying last week's unfinished business into the new week without reviewing it first. The consistency of this practice makes everything else possible. Your three energy buckets, your deep work blocks, your administrative batching, they all work better when built on a reliable weekly foundation. This isn't just about another task to complete. It's a keystone habit that supports your entire productivity system. So now let's handle how to adjust your plan when reality inevitably changes during the week. No plan survives first contact with reality unchanged. That is not a failure. It's just how life works. Even the best weekly plan will face unexpected interruptions, new priorities, or simply tasks that takes longer than expected. The solution isn't to create a perfect plan, but to build in regular checkpoints for adjustments. Schedule a 5-minute Wednesday assessment of your week. Put it in your calendar as a recurring appointment. This midweek check serves as your course correction point. It's long enough after Monday to see how your plan is holding up, but early enough to make meaningful changes for the rest of the week. Most people handle plan disruptions in one of two unhelpful ways. They either abandon the entire week completely, thinking it's already ruined, or they rigidly stick to a failing plan that no longer matches reality. Both approaches waste time and energy. The Wednesday working provides a third option: intelligent adjustment. So this midweek assessment allows for course correction without starting over from scratch. You're not throwing out your entire plan, you're just tuning it based on what you've learned so far. And this keeps you moving forward while remaining flexible enough to handle real-world complications. Ask yourself 3 simple questions during this check-in. What's working well so far this week? What isn't working as planned? One is adjusting for the remaining days. These questions only takes moments to consider, but provide crucial insights for improving your plan's effectiveness. This process prevents all or nothing thinking. Your plan isn't either perfect or worthless. It's a living document that can be improved as circumstances change. So this mindset shift alone makes planning sustainable long term. You stop seeing deviations as failures and start viewing them as information for improvement. The Wednesday check-in builds flexibility into your system without losing direction. It allows you to maintain focus on your priorities while adapting to new information. This balance between structure and adaptability is what makes a planning system truly effective in the real world. Small midweek adjustments maintain momentum through Friday. Instead of watching your plan gradually fall apart as the week progresses, you proactively fix issues before they become major problems. This keeps you engaged with your plan rather than discouraged by it. The 5-minute investment pays back significantly in saved time and reduces stress. You catch problems early, adjust priorities before they become urgent, and maintain control over your week rather than letting circumstances control you. This regular tune-up keeps your plan working for you rather than against you. So the Wednesday check keeps your plan responsive and realistic throughout the entire week. Transform your plan from a static document, create created on Sunday into a dynamic tool that evolves with your actual experience. This adaptability is what separates effective planners from frustrated ones. Energy levels don't stay constant throughout the week. They follow predictable patterns that most people completely ignore when planning. Understanding these natural rhythms transforms your schedule from a constant struggle into something that actually works with your biology rather than against it. Most people experience energy peaks around Tuesday and Wednesday, with a noticeable slump hitting on Thursday. Your Monday energy is often about building momentum after the weekend transition, while Friday brings a natural winding down energy as the week concludes. Planning without accounting for these patterns sets you up for Thursday failures when your energy dips, but your schedule remains packed with demanding tasks. Schedule your most cognitive demanding work during your high energy periods. For most people, this means placing deep work blocks on Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings when focus comes more naturally. Complex projects, creative work, and important decisions deserve your peak mental resources. So don't waste these high energy windows on routine administrative tasks. Place your administrative task during your natural energy dip. Thursday afternoons often work well for catching up on emails and other medium energy tasks. Your lower energy periods can be productive when you match them with appropriate work, and administrative batches fit perfectly into these slots where deep focus will be difficult in the first place. And Friday works best for wrapping up the week and preparing for the next. Use this natural winding down energy for completion tasks and planning your upcoming week. The Friday energy pattern supports reflection and organization rather than intense creative work. And this makes your transition into the weekend smoother and sets up Monday for success. Monday should focus on building momentum with quick wins. Start with tasks that give you a sense of accomplishment early in the week. This builds positive momentum that carries through to Tuesday and Wednesday. Avoid scheduling your most challenging work on Monday when you're still getting back into the work rhythm after your weekend. And understanding your natural energy patterns prevents weekly burnout. When you schedule according to your natural rhythms, you reduce the strain of pushing through low energy periods. Your work feels more sustainable because you're working with your body's natural cycles rather than fighting them. This approach makes your entire week flow more smoothly. Energy-aware planning makes your schedule work with your biology. You stop trying to force productivity at times when your brain and body naturally wants to slow down. Instead, you channel your energy where it flows most naturally. This creates a week that feels effortful but not exhausting, productive but not draining. Track your energy patterns for a few weeks to identify your personal rhythms. Notice when you naturally feel focused versus when you struggle to concentrate. Observe which days feels energetic versus which feel like a grind, and use these observations to customize your schedule around your unique energy landscape. This biological alignment changes everything about how your week feels. You accomplish more with less struggle because you're working with your natural energy current rather than swimming against them. Your plans become a reflection of how you actually work best rather than idealized version of productivity. Now let's discuss measuring weekly success differently, because perfect execution matters less than meaningful progress. Weekly planning success isn't about perfect execution. Most people measure their weekly success by how closely they followed their plan. They check off completed tasks and feel good about sticking to their schedule. But this approach misses the real point of planning entirely. The true measure of success should be progress towards your goals, not following your perfect plan. All or nothing thinking causes the majority of the planning system abandonment. When people miss a few tasks or have an off day, they often scrap the entire system. They assume since they didn't execute perfectly, the system must not work. This perfectionist approach guarantees failure because no week ever goes exactly as planned. Life always intervenes with unexpected events and necessary adjustments. A 70% executed good plan beats 100% executed poor plan every time. The quality of your plan matters more than how perfectly you followed it. A well-designed defined plan that moves you, your important goals is valuable even when only partially completed. A poorly designed plan, on the other hand, that keeps you busy without progress, even if you check every box. So focus on whether your important tasks moved forward, not whether everything got done. At the end of each week, ask yourself if you made meaningful progress on your priority outcomes. Did your deep work sessions advance your key projects? Did your administrative batching keep necessary tasks from piling up? Did your recovery blocks maintain your energy for the following week? These questions reveal real progress, better than any task completion rate. And this mindset reduces planning frustrations and increases consistency over time. Stop demanding perfection from yourself. Planning becomes less stressful and more sustainable. You're more likely to continue using your system week after week because occasional mishaps don't derail your entire approach. Consistency creates more progress than occasional perfection ever could, and celebrate directional progress rather than perfect execution. Notice when you moved closer to your goals, even if you didn't finish the entire project. Recognize when you took needed recovery breaks, even if other tasks had to wait. This positive reinforcement builds motivation to keep planning. This approach builds long-term planning habits that actually stay. You're developing a sustainable relationship with time management. Progress-focused measurement makes planning something you can maintain for years rather than abandon after weeks. It transforms planning from a performance test into a progress tool. And progress-focused measurement makes planning sustainable because it aligns with how real life actually works. Weeks never unfold exactly as planned, but they can still move you meaningfully toward your goals. This realistic approach creates satisfaction rather than frustration with your planning efforts. So let's implement the complete system in a practical 20-minute weekly routine that brings all this together. So this is how to implement this system in under 20 minutes. People assume effective planning requires hours of detailed work they don't have. That belief stops them even before they start. The truth is, complexity doesn't equal effectiveness. A simple system used consistency beats perfect system used rarely. So start with your 3 most important tasks for the week. Write them down clearly. These are your priority outcomes. What will make this week successful if accomplished? Everything else will build around this. And this focus prevents your plan from becoming just a long list of low-value tasks. Block your deep work slots around your energy peaks. Look at your calendar and identify your best 2-hour windows for focused work. Set these times like important meetings with yourself. Put them in your schedule before adding anything else. This ensures your most important work gets your best energy. Batch administrative tasks into dedicated time blocks during lower energy periods. Group emails, calls, and routine tasks together. Schedule this for times when your focus naturally dips, like mid-afternoon. Set clear time limits for each batch to prevent administrative creep into your valuable deep work time. Finally, let's address common obstacles that might come up when implementing this system. Even the best system needs adjustment for your specific life. You might encounter common obstacles like interruptions breaking your focus, consistently overplanning your capacity, or discovering your energy patterns don't match your initial schedule. These aren't signs that the system is failing. They are opportunities to customize it for your reality. Initial resistance is completely normal when changing planning habits. Your brain will want to revert to old patterns, and your current environment might not support your new approach immediately. This discomfort actually means you're changing something, not that you're doing it wrong. The key is to anticipate these challenges and have simple solutions ready. If interruptions keep breaking your deep work sessions, you need to communicate boundaries more clearly. Tell your team or family about your focus work blocks before they start. Use a do not disturb sign or status indicator. Close your office door if you have one. The problem usually isn't the interruptions themselves. It's the lack of clear communication about when you shouldn't be interrupted. If you find yourself consistently over planning every week, Consciously reduce your task load by 30% next week. Look at what you plan to accomplish last week and 3 out of every 10 tasks. This feels counterintuitive, but actually increases what you complete because you're working with realistic capacity rather than idealistic expectations. If your energy patterns don't match your schedule, adjust your time blocks accordingly. You might discover you're actually more focused in the afternoon than morning, or that Thursday mornings work better for deep work than Tuesday afternoons. Move your deep work blocks to match your actual energy peaks rather than where you thought they should be. Your schedule should reflect your reality, not an ideal. The system should serve you, not the other way around. If something isn't working after genuine effort, change that element while keeping the overall framework. Maybe you need longer recovery blocks or shorter deep work sections. Perhaps analog planning works best for you than digital for your needs. The goal isn't perfectly sticking to the method, it's finding what helps you make consistent progress.